Hey, it's Mr. Stubblefield. I just got these two quick examples to refresh your memory on how to do this number line thing and represent net forces. So let's look at the first example, which says that you have a 3 Newton force to the east and then an 11 Newton force to the west. And the net force between those two is 8 newtons to the west. And you can see that here, because after you add the 11 newtons to the west to the finish of the 3 newtons to the east, you wind up with a difference of 8 newtons to the west, and that means a difference of 8 newtons if you start from the 0 point and count to where the 11 Newton line finished. Then the difference between the 0 point and the end of the 11 Newton arrow is 8 newtons to the west. So in this example, example 1 marked here, the net force is 8 newtons to the west. In the second example that I have shown here, you have 3 forces, 8 newtons to the east, 12 newtons to the west, and 4 newtons to the east. And so I've drawn those. You start at 0 with your first one and go 8 newtons to the east on the number line. Then you start there at the finish of that arrow, and you turn around and you go back 12 newtons to the west, and then you start there at the end of that arrow and you go back again to the east 4 newtons to the east. And now something interesting happens, because you have finished even with the 0 mark on your number line. So what that means is that when you combine these 3 forces, you have a net force of 0, because their combination brings you back to the 0 mark on your number line. So there are 2 examples, one with a net force of 8 newtons west and the other with a net force of 0. So what does all that mean? Well, here's some things to remember. First of all, net force is the distance on the number line from X, or from your starting place. So we showed that here. The net force was 8 newtons to the west of the starting place, and here the net force was 0 newtons from the starting place when you finished. Second, 0 net force means the forces are balanced. Okay, that seems self-explanatory to me, so I'm not going to say anything further about it. It just means that all the forces cancel each other out totally. 3, the balanced forces do not cause motion to change. So that means things that are at rest stay at rest, and things in motion remain with a constant velocity. They keep a constant velocity. The motion does not change if the forces are balanced, and we've talked about that quite a bit. That's Newton's first law of motion. And then number 4, unbalanced forces, such as this one, non-zero net forces, they do cause motion to change, and you'll have to excuse my grammar here. I don't have subject-verb agreement. They do cause motion to change by accelerating whatever it is in the direction of the net force. So in this case, whatever this object is that we're putting these forces on would be changing its motion by accelerating to the west under a force of 8 newtons. In this case, example 2, whatever this object is that we're putting all these forces on would not accelerate, because the net force is 0, and so balanced forces do not produce acceleration. They don't change the motion. So if this force is at rest, it's going to stay at rest. Sorry, if this object is at rest, it's going to stay at rest. Or if this object is in motion, it's going to continue with the same motion, the same velocity, speed, and direction. This object at rest is going to begin to accelerate to the west, and this object already in motion is going to begin to accelerate to the west also. So that's it. I'm stopping here. Hope it helps.